Many organizations ask us how it is they go about transferring their existing performance management system to one that includes OKRs. It's actually more like leveling up than any major change. So let's take a look at your existing management system and then what you need to do to introduce OKRs into the process. So if we're lucky, your existing management system links individuals' goals to strategy. Well, you're going to do that with OKRs as well. If you're lucky, your current system has goals for both individuals and teams. Well, we're going to do the same thing, but we're just going to restate those goals as objectives. Same thing, just slightly different terminology. Your current system probably uses measures to monitor individuals and teams' performance. Well, we're going to use some of the key results. And this is important because you're going to have more key results than just in your reward system. And there's particular criteria for data to use in a reward system. So, for example, it's got to be audible. Typically, it's lagging measures and so forth. So some of your key results will be used, no different than you're currently doing them. You already have performance conversations, probably an annual performance review. You're still going to have performance conversations. And then finally, chances are your performance measurement system has something about assessing how people are working against their values, your culture, the required competencies. And guess what? We're also going to include elements of values, culture, and competencies in the OKRs. So I'm positioning this to say, this is not this big change. This is just leveling up. Now, why do I call it leveling up? Well, because there are additional benefits you get from the OKRs because of a slightly better rigor. So let's talk about those benefits from that transition to OKRs. First off, the linkage to strategy is much clearer because in this model, I'm only linking your personal objectives. In this case, I'm linking the entire organization, and I can see where my objectives fit into my team's objectives to the company's objectives. And so I'm seeing strategy that goes beyond just a performance management system. In terms of individual and team goals, what we're getting here is one set of objectives. So we see in many organizations, they end up with two sets of objectives. Objectives that they set through their strategic and operational planning processes, and a separate set used for the rewards. In this case, it's just going to be one set. And so I don't have that duplicity or confusion going on. Kind of the same thing with key results, because what we're going to push towards is a single source of the truth. In other words, the same numbers I'm going to use in my weekly, monthly stand-up meetings, performance meetings, are the same ones that are used in my reward system. So this, again, gets rid of some of the confusion, especially when the two numbers don't reconcile. It also gives us an added depth when we do our performance review because I have additional key results, those ones that aren't included in the compensation model, but give me information about leading and lagging behaviors, or outcomes associated with the key results that are part of the reward structure. So I have a much more robust performance management system. These performance conversations are also improved because of the rapid cadence of OKRs, right? Your OKRs, you can be reporting them daily, weekly, monthly. And so I can have daily, weekly, monthly performance conversations, whatever is appropriate for organization. And that gives you as a leader much richer coaching opportunities and much better ability to provide performance support early before significant performance issues occur. And then finally, about including values, culture, and competencies. We should be including those, of course, measured exactly the same way as you currently do. But the benefit opened by OKRs is we can begin to do what I call HR by the numbers. And there's other videos on that. But basically, we have numbers that can indicate whether people are living our values, whether people are living our culture, whether we are seeing the right competencies. And these measures come from APIs and they're available to us day to day without additional work. So things like, I don't know, you might have a value that says we operate with integrity. Well, I can see how many times I change the ship date of a product or how many times I change the specs or those sorts of things as indications of, are we living our values? And so the OKRs give us a whole bunch of benefits when you add them in, and it's not a significant step. It's just leveling up what's currently in place. Now, the final thing I'm going to say is you can do it this way, which is what I call flying below the radar. Like, this is not a big change in the organization. This is just our progressing. But if your current performance management system has enough bad reputation, you can also position this as a complete rebuild and overhaul. So you can decide whether this is just the natural evolution and leveling up, or is this a complete rebuild.